Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Growth Clinic Podcast. Today we have Jeffrey Boadi, who is a plant-based health and wellness advocate, and we discussed why he decided to switch to a plant-based diet, how his family took the decision, how he builds muscles on this diet, and the overall benefits he has experienced since the switch. And I hope you enjoyed the rest of the show. Alright, Jeffrey Boadi, welcome to the Growth Clinic Podcast. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me on, man. It'll be good.
Yeah, you look good. So tell us a bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, so I'd say I'm a health and wellness advocate, but I guess first of all, I'm a human being. I try not to identify with too many, labels and things like that. But what I do like to kind of talk a lot about is health and wellness, and particularly from like a plant-based standpoint in terms of plant-based food.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that for I've been plant-based for nearly 5 years now, but sharing a lot of my experiences, recipes, information on social for the last sort of 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Just been building the community that way and kind of getting people in tune with how they can benefit their bodies and their health by going plant-based.
Yeah. So why did you decide to go plant-based?
So it's interesting because my sister, she came across a documentary called What the Health, which shows people I do have to say it is quite a biased documentary in many ways, but there is some information that for me led me to go down a rabbit hole to do a lot of research, to do, look into scientific papers. And I kind of shifted my diet overnight because I was a big meat eater and lots of eggs, lots of fish, chicken, like growing up in the Ghanaian household, it's just meat. But then I kind of shifted but I still wanted to do it for like health and performance and wellness. So, training in the gym and being able to still build muscle and be fit. So I kind of went on a journey just to try and optimize a plant-based diet for the best possible health, essentially. And then I started to just share my journey and document what I was doing, sharing recipes that I was coming across, different foods that I was coming across, sharing the benefits of certain foods. And then here we are now, and, it's become super, big passion of mine. And I just love sharing that knowledge and that kind of inspiration with others to help them at least get more plants onto their plate.
Yeah, so you know how most people are a combination of both, like we eat vegetables and meat and all of this. What was the reception like when you decided and you came out and told everybody that you want to be plant-based?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit strange. My mum thought I was a bit weird. I can't lie.
I can imagine.
At the time I was living at home, and obviously she's cooking me loads of chicken and beef and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, "What's this guy doing?" But she understands it. She gets it. I just wanted to kind of show, and not so much like one of the things I try to avoid doing, maybe not successfully all the time, was to try and avoid like preaching to everyone about it in terms of you need to do this, you need to do that, because everyone's going to do what they want, at their own pace, essentially. So yeah, it was met with maybe a few eyebrows raised, but I think continuing it up until this point, maybe people have started to see, okay, maybe he knew what he was doing.
So I'm actually curious because I eat everything. So I want to know why, like how it affects your performance and all of those things.
So I think it's important I don't want to kind of overhype the benefits and say, if you eat loads of plants, you're going to be good. If you eat meat, you're going to be bad, because that's not true. One thing that I do think is very, very good when it comes to plant foods, you get a lot of fiber. You only find fiber in plant-based foods, and fiber is so beneficial in terms of gut health, gut bacteria, optimizing your digestion, reducing risk of certain chronic diseases through the production of short chain fatty acids, if we're going to go a bit technical. But one thing that I did realize, and one that I did notice when I did change, was that my sleep was just incredible. Like I slept so well. And beforehand, I would get, your standard 7-8 hours sleep, but I would still feel quite sluggish and quite tired in the mornings. As soon as I cut meat out after 2 weeks, I was sleeping really deeply, sleeping very, very deeply. I felt like I had a lot more energy throughout the day. I felt like I had more clarity of thought. Of course, these are, I guess, anecdotal to me, but there are many people who have reported similar benefits. So, and it's important to also make the distinction between whole food plant-based, so like whole plants, broccoli, your dark leafy greens, your whole grains, and then just like the vegan processed foods, because a lot of people, particularly new, who might be susceptible to marketing from certain food companies, might think that just because something is vegan, it must be healthy. So it's always important to make that distinction and go for fresh ingredients, cooking from scratch. And as you say, you get plenty of fiber, you get plenty of phytonutrients, antioxidants for cellular health. And you can get, obviously with plant protein, it becomes less saturated fat and more fiber. So you're getting the benefits there as well.
So in terms of building muscles, because I feel like when you want to build muscles, you have to eat meat or something. That's the idea I have. So how do you do that? How do you optimize that?
I think the main thing that people need to remember is that the stimulus is training. You need to lift weights. That's the main thing that you need to focus on. Yes, plant-based proteins are somewhat less anabolic than meat, but that doesn't mean that you can't build muscle. You need to just plan it a little better in terms of making sure that you get a wide variety of plant-based protein. So for example, if you're eating chicken breast all day, you're going to quite easily build muscle. Like you are going to get that anabolic response. You're going to get higher amounts of leucine, which is the amino acid which stimulates muscle protein synthesis. And you don't have to think too much about it because chicken has a full amino acid profile, like in terms of each amino acid of each of the essential amino acids, are at really high amounts. But with plant-based foods, you might get certain plant proteins they've got all the essential amino acids that you need to build muscle, but some of them might have lower amounts of them. So what you need to do is get a wide variety of plant-based protein across the day. So you might have, for me, I'd have like oatmeal, hemp seeds, and a plant-based protein oatmeal in the morning. And then at lunchtime, I might have a lentil bolognese of like lentil pasta or something. And then in the evening, I might have like a Buddha bowl with like tempeh or tofu or even chickpeas or something like that. So I've got loads of different sources of protein across the day. And then again, it's about making sure that you get the right amount. So you want to be aiming for 1.6 grams to 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So for me, I'm 91 kg. So I tend to sit around 150, 160 grams of protein per day. And again, it's all about the stimulus. It's all about making sure that you progressively overload the body when you're training, lifting as heavy as you can. And that's obviously going to stimulate that muscle growth. But as I said, you do have to plan a little bit more when it comes to the plant-based side.
So what of muscle recovery?
So muscle recovery, again, I think it's all about optimizing the training environment. I think it's quite similar across both animal-based and plant-based foods. You want to be making sure that you're getting lots of anti-inflammatory foods. So things like blueberries, dark leafy greens, turmeric, goji berries, real antioxidant rich foods that can reduce inflammation in the body. And then of course that you can look to certain techniques, including like cold therapy to, bring certain blood flow to the area and increase that recovery time. And just making sure you stretch, things like that. So yeah, I think, as I said, making sure you focus on anti-inflammatory plant foods, that's probably the key here.
So aside your sleep, what's changed from when you were animal-based solely, or a mixture of everything, and when you went plant-based fully, what changed in you aside your sleep?
Do you know what? I think aside from, so obviously sleep was one of the main physical benefits. The clarity of thought, I just felt my mind was a lot clearer. I felt more energetic. Like as I said, I wake up feeling very rested, but also wake up with energy as well to go about my day. But one of the really underrated factors that I really focused on and that I really remember is almost just getting like, I became more conscious of where my food was coming from, and that's not to say, again, I could have reduced my meat consumption and been more aware of where my food was coming from and still lived quite a healthy lifestyle. Because I'm not someone who is dogmatic in the sense that I don't believe that someone can be healthy if they eat animal products, like a small amount in the context of a whole, like a plant predominant diet, because you can. But I think just having that clarity of, okay, let me just think about where my food is coming from. I think it pushed me into a phase where I wanted to become really knowledgeable about nutrition overall. So a lot of the foods I eat, I'm always thinking, okay, what kind of nutrients, what kind of nutrient profile is this food going to give me? Am I getting certain minerals? Of course, do I have to supplement certain instances? Of course, B12, vitamin D, omega-3 long chain fatty acids, that are really important ones. So yeah, I just got a real kind of clear understanding of nutrition. And again, I'm still learning to this day. I'm always going to be someone who wants to learn and wants to, find out new things. So yeah, I'd say that was a really, really big factor that I kind of experienced.
I feel like being conscious about what you eat is very important, and it's something your plant-based movement has created for you. So since you started, have you eaten meat at all?
No, not at all. So as I said, it was August 2017. So it's coming up to 5 years, sorry. And again, I feel like because it was almost like a real big shift in my mindset about, okay, I want to do this, but this is me being in control of my nutrition. Because I think
Yeah.
one of the things when we're growing up, we're not really in control of what we eat. That's kind of dictated by our parents, by society, by, tradition, culture, these types of things. But are we making those decisions consciously for ourselves? And as I said, I'm not someone who thinks, everyone who eats meat is making an unconscious decision, because there are plenty of people who maybe want to go for like higher quality meats, organic and wild caught fish and things like that in the context of a plant rich diet. But I just think it's important to just be very clear as to where your food's coming from, what nutrients you're getting from your food, and have that real clarity of thought in making those decisions that you're personally making. And I think that will stand you in good stead, regardless of what diet you're eating, I think.
Yeah, I went to your Instagram and there's a post you talked about how plant-based meals help your skin. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. So this is a very important one, because I think there's a lot of, in the skincare industry, I think people forget that skincare really does start from the inside out. It really does depend on what you eat. And if you're eating foods that are rich in monounsaturated fatty acids like avocados, walnuts, you've got antioxidant rich foods like blueberries, which help to prevent collagen breakdown, which is the most abundant protein in your skin. You've also got bell peppers, rich in vitamin C, which help to build collagen as well. So if you're getting these foods in consistently and on a regular basis, what you're doing is you're enhancing your skin's innate capacity to, have that high level of antioxidant status. So that it's really, really important. Like, skin health is really based on what you eat, getting plenty of antioxidants, getting plenty of skin hydrating fatty acids, foods which are going to build collagen. And a lot of these are in plant foods. So, it's really important that you get a lot of those foods in. And I think as a priority first, of course, skincare products are valuable, and I have some myself, but I think my diet and what I put into my body is the most important thing.
Yeah. So aside avocados that you mentioned earlier, what other meals are good for your skin?
Yeah, so walnuts, great source of vitamin E, which is an antioxidant, and also omega-3 fatty acids, which help hydrate the skin. Hemp seeds are the same as well as chia seeds. Bell peppers, so your standard peppers that you can find at a farmer's market or a supermarket or whatever. Berries are really rich in antioxidants as well. So blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. Goji berries are another food that's very high in antioxidants. And what antioxidants do is they reduce oxidative stress, and that can cause skin damage, that can cause overall cellular damage. So yeah, those are the foods that I think you want to move towards. And as far as collagen goes, collagen is the most abundant protein in our skin, which gives our skin its elasticity. And from the age of 30, it typically starts to decline like a little bit each year as you get older. So eating these foods which help to prevent collagen breakdown, like blueberries, as I mentioned, and help to build collagen, like bell peppers or other vitamin C rich foods like broccoli, dark leafy greens, spinach, kale, those types of foods. Those are the ones that you really want to get into your diet as much as you can.
All right, man. So sometime last 2 months, I feel like my cousin said she wanted to go plant-based, and she was talking about the difference between vegetarians and vegans. So would you like to talk about the difference in that?
So the main difference is with vegetarians, they just focus on not eating meat. So they still eat dairy, so milk, cheese, things like that, and they still eat eggs as well. Yeah. So with vegans, the thing with vegan is that it's a complete elimination of all animal byproducts. So dairy, meat, eggs, and fish. And then if you want to go down the ethical side of things as well, that's an avoidance of utilizing products like leather, like suede and things like that. But from a food standpoint, the main difference is that dairy and eggs are still in a vegetarian diet, but with a vegan diet, everything from an animal is essentially removed.
All right. So back to when you changed to plant-based, basically, how long did it take for you to start seeing the changes?
So in terms of my sleep, energy, and things like that, I would say literally 2 or 3 weeks. 2 or 3 weeks, and I was noticing marked differences in my sleep. It was strange, and I felt a lot lighter. And I mean, one of the small mistakes that I did make actually was not realizing, and now I realize, and I mention this quite a lot, is that when you do shift to a plant-based diet, you need to eat a bigger volume of food. So if you remove meat from your plate, because meat is typically more calorie dense than plants, if you take meat off your plate and don't replace it adequately, you're accidentally going to eat less calories. So I lost like maybe 1 or 2 kilos, like not intentionally, even though I was still feeling amazing. But then I realized I had to just eat a little bit more. So then I put that weight back on, and I've had no problem with like putting weight on, building muscle, being in a calorie surplus to do those kinds of things. So yeah, it was a really, really short period of time before I started noticing these differences. And of course, that's specific to me. It might be different for someone else. It might take 3 months. It might take 6 months for someone else. So I think it's always important for people to be in tune with their bodies. And even if it's a case where maybe a fully plant-based diet isn't quite working for them, you know, the incorporation of a small amount of animal products, if that's going to benefit them, it's important to listen to what your body requires, and move forward from there.
I bet after those 2 weeks, you're very excited that you made the right decision.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think it's one of those things like, you know, changing your diet and changing everything that you've known about food is a really big thing to do. So of course, you know, after the 2 weeks, I was like, you know, this is going great, but of course I've still got to, you know, keep an eye on certain things, keep an eye on nutrients, start to build my recipe kind of repertoire and get used to certain foods and start exploring new foods. But I felt like after sort of 2-3 years, I was like, right, I'm really in the swing of things now. I'm really, you know, this is the lifestyle that I mean, to be fair, I'd say maybe not 2 or 3 years. I'd say maybe after a year, I was like, this is a lifestyle that I can continue and push forward with for the foreseeable future and beyond.
So at what point did you decide to take it as your career to be a nutritionist?
Well, the funny thing is, I'm actually not a nutritionist. I just love sharing a lot of information, and I just love learning. I mean, it's something that I've looked at and looked into in terms of getting qualifications and things like that. But I like to almost, I guess I just see myself as someone who wants to be like a figure of inspiration for people who are interested in learning more about plant-based nutrition, interested in getting more plants onto their plate, or even going fully plant-based. So as I said, I never really had an idea. You know, I've worked with certain organizations and I've done certain things on social media to kind of carve out this career, I guess if you could call it, but it was never really my intention. It was, all I was doing was just sharing my experience on Instagram. And I was never really a social media person. I didn't like social media at all. I had to be convinced to do it. So I just kind of was just sharing my experience, sharing my knowledge that I was gaining to kind of empower other people. And then it just kind of continued to grow. But my mindset and my focus was still just provide value for people. You know, share what your experience is, kind of where it's leading you, share recipes, share information, share inspiration, communicate with the community, and just build something that people are going to find valuable.
Yeah. So the other people in your community, have they shared similar experiences about the positive changes that plant-based meal has done for them?
Yeah, they have. And I think why I do say it's anecdotal is because it's not something that you can like prove by science. And you can look at certain things in terms of getting certain amino acids like tryptophan, which can help with sleep. But again, it's going to be different for everyone. So whilst I do say my experiences of feeling more energetic, feeling more clarity of thought, sleeping better is anecdotal to me, there are lots of people who have shared similar experiences having moved to plant-based diets.
All right. So no more meat for you till you.
No more meat for me.
All right, man. It's been good talking to you. So where can people find you on the internet? So
my Instagram profile is just instagram.com/Jeffrey Boadi. Twitter's the same, just with an underscore at the end. I'm on TikTok now as well, actually, which is quite interesting. So that's same username, Jeffrey Boadi _. And my website is www.thewealthofhealth.co.uk, where I have a lot more long form blog posts about plant-based nutrition. You can sign up to my newsletter there, where I share like information, recipes, and things like that. And I've also got a recipe ebook, Eat More Plants recipe ebook, which I released last year, which you can find on my website as well. All right, man. I'll make sure to link all of those on the show notes. All right, man. It was good talking to you, man. Nice one, bro. Hey guys, thanks for coming this far. For my daily content, find me on Twitter @GrowClinic, and that's with 2 C's at the end, or check out my personal website at growclinic.com. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.